Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to NFT Kings. Today we have xBenJamminx with us. He is a huge advocate for all NFTs, a straight beast on Twitter. Definitely want to listen to this guy. So without further ado, Ben, how does your NFT journey start, man?
Well, most people would say Topshot, and that's kind of where my story is, but it technically started with CryptoKitties in 2017.
Wow.
So at the time, I had been getting into crypto and mostly Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. At the time, those were the ones that I had my eye on. Wasn't really big into the shit coins per se, right? As people would say, but technically, Ethereum and Litecoin are altcoins. So I was getting into those, and while I started learning about Ethereum, I noticed that you can buy these cats and breed them and sell them, and you join them together, and they create a whole new cat and all this kind of stuff. So it was like really exciting and interesting, and it was early for NFTs and crypto in general, but I found it somehow. I got into it. I bought a few bread here and there. And then I honestly kind of lost a little bit of the excitement for it. I sold off my whole portfolio, which was like, I don't know, three or four of them. And then took a little bit of a backseat to crypto over the years, a little buying and selling here and there, but nothing big. And then when Top Shot came around, I saw this, and I do a lot of research and deep digging when I find something I like. So found Top Shot and Dapper Labs. And since I had already previously known CryptoKitties and Dapper Labs, Top Shot was, already a viable product for me because I had faith in the company already. And so after doing some due diligence and a lot of digging on Dapper Labs, I finally joined into Top Shot, put a few grand in there, and had a great month
Yeah.
for January, February. So that was technically my entrance was CryptoKitties, but my big move was Top Shot.
Yeah. I feel like most of the people you'll speak to on the Twitter world, whether they like to admit it or not, like NBA Top Shot is like, as of right now, it's like the GOAT of NFTs. How much of an NFT is it actually? Well, that's up for debate, like
Hmm.
closed network, whatever, people like to talk about that. But it definitely introduced most of the NFT world to NFTs. So, like you said, that January run and that hit, and pretty much everyone felt like a freaking genius. I felt like a freaking genius. I'm sure you did as well. And like, do you how does that change your daily schedule? How does that change your what do you do every day now? Did you quit your job at that point? Did you quit your job now, or do you still view NFTs as like a side hustle?
Well, I mean, it's tough because I was working. So I have a pretty diverse background, but I went from like computer programming, running a 3D printing club in college, being recruited by a military manufacturing facility to run a nuclear program line where we sold
Shit.
actuators to Navy aircraft carriers and power plants and stuff like that. And so that grind I did for a couple of years, and it was tough and difficult and a lot of hours. So I left that to go back into like web development and operations last year. And that's around the time that I started getting, more into just being on my computer for work, not having to go into a facility, just being home, working from home, and being able to do that. I found a lot of different ways to make money. I did very well in crypto. Matic killed it for me. I found it
Yeah.
early, and so I was just able to kind of leave that job that wasn't really going well and just do a full time foray into NFTs, which started at the beginning of April. So Top Shot wasn't the conduit for me to be able to leave my job, but it definitely was a good starting point, just introducing me into NFTs, making the connections, having some, money to pad my account, which was important. And so, I look at Top Shot like Michael Jordan, right? And so Michael Jordan was the GOAT. He was, repeating and tearing it up. And then he went and played baseball, and he
Mhm.
sucked at baseball. And I think Top Shot was just finishing up their foray into, trying out baseball. And now that they're starting to add some utility and collector score and all the stuff that benefits the community, I feel like it's Jordan coming back a little bit. So yeah, I'm optimistic about the platform in general. and the company. But when it comes to my portfolio, like you said, we all felt brilliant in January, right? Buying Mason Plumleys for $80, thinking it's going to 160, and then it's worth $6, a week and a half later or something. And it's just like, what happened, man? But my lifestyle changed because of being introduced to Topshot, but it wasn't specifically Topshot that was able to give me the confidence to jump into the space full time.
I see that. And a lot of there was a lot of controversy around that collector score. And your analogy of Michael Jordan comparing it to Topshot it's honestly excellent. I've never heard that, but it's really spot on. But I know that I just made a post out recently about the collector score, and I know that Topshot is definitely trying to look out for those guys that are really investing, and they're trying to protect the market also, which is something that that is huge, and it's very important, because or else people are just going to keep undercutting each other, and that's not good. So do you think that is a good idea though in the long run, because it doesn't give a chance for those people that can't afford to buy all those moments to get that collector score to ever crack a legendary moment or to crack open a rare moment even. So what are your thoughts on that?
It's interesting because I like the idea. I think the execution is a little bit lacking, and they have a lot of ways to go. And I have my own thoughts on it, my own perspective. Being a top 1% collector, I feel like I shouldn't have to triple my collector score just to be eligible for that drop, because mine is like 2,500. They're expecting 7,500. But the way I look at it, and things like this, especially with tech companies that have proven themselves to me to be able to find solutions, right? Like they had CryptoKitties destroy the Ethereum network a couple of years ago. And so what did they do? They built their own blockchain protocol. Like that to me is ingenuity that is very important for a company. So the same way that when I go to get a haircut and I tell the guy what I want, and in the middle of the haircut, it doesn't look great because half of it's missing and he's cut a little off here. I don't start saying, hey man, that's too long. Hey man, I cut my sideburns shorter. I wait to see like where they get with it, right?
Yeah.
They've told us it's a work in progress. So yeah, can I provide suggestions? Of course, but like at the end of the day, I think they're going to keep working with it and massaging it and just updating the way they go about it that will make people feel better. So do I agree with the current state of it? Probably not. But do I think that it's a much needed improvement? Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It hasn't reached perfection yet, and it's probably far from perfection. That's why they still have that beta stamp, and that's true. So what really introduced a lot of the NBA Top Shot members to go outside of NBA Top Shot and more into just the NFT world was the Board Apes. You are a huge Board Ape advocate and community leader, sort of say. I see you in a lot of the spaces. For those of you who don't know what spaces are, it's basically just Clubhouse on Twitter. And I wanted to ask you, do you think how did they come into power, sort of say? Was it the same way as the CryptoPunks came into power? What really ignited that flame to bring the Board Apes to becoming the number one NFT on the entire OpenSea right now?
Well, I would say that for me, my bridge to the Board Apes was through Zed Run. So I had Zed Run digital horses for racing and breeding before I did the apes. So I know a lot of people jumped into that community after Top Shot. So Board Apes is definitely on top of the world right now. But I would say the real bridge was probably through Zed Run, in my opinion. There's a lot of art that you could probably say and some other projects, but in terms of mass adoption, I think Zed would be that. And so for me, I kind of left Top Shot, or at least looked more outward when I saw the trajectory of the market. And so I said, okay, let me start taking some of my money out and diversifying into other things. And I went into Zed. And fortunately, Zed was a great transition for Board Apes because I was able to trade a few of my horses that I had for apes. And so now those apes are worth way more than the horses. So unfortunately for the people who did the deals with me, but at the time they were very, very even. And so it was hard to tell where one would go because who knows, the horses could have really taken off in price, but Zeds had their own mishaps. But with Board Apes, I mean, I minted one the first night, only one. I minted number 721. So there's only 9,300, or there was 9,300 left, not only, sorry. And so I thought, oh, I'll get some more tomorrow. I wasn't very liquid, and I woke up in the morning, they were all gone.
Sold out.
You know,
Wow.
and it was unfortunate. And so the first thing I did was I bought another one for 0.2. And then I started trading some horses. And at the end of the day, I ended up with 4 Board Apes within 2 days of drop, I would say. I've sold some, bought some more, traded for horses, sold some more. So like I did all that. I have 5 still. And I would just say for Board Apes to begin with, it was one of the first, or if not the first to market with avatar by illustration instead of pixel. They were the trendsetter for the flat model of pricing instead of the bonding curve. And that has faced mass adoption now. We've also seen that they were the first to do full 100% commercialization of rights. And please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, if someone knows otherwise, but I know CryptoPunks did it, but I believe that after $100,000 in a year, you have to ask their permission to sell more. So it's like a contingency factor in there, where Board Apes is just, here's your rights, do whatever you want with it. So that was important. Also, people started putting them as their avatars very quickly. And if you had one, you were getting followed by every ape that was around. And the first day I retweeted, I said, if you're an ape, follow me. I'll follow every single person back. And me having like 16,000 followers or something, people see that. And it's just a different mindset when someone who's going to retweet all these people who have 5, 10 followers, just start that network up. And it got to the point where now if you see someone with a Bored Ape, you feel free to talk in the DMs, share money back and forth, form businesses without ever knowing what the person looks like in some cases. So this network factor is just huge. The opportunities is just endless. The ability to flip these and make money from it. And then the liquidity pools that you have, that if you really want to get out, you know, you could go to NFTX or NFT42 and just drop your ape in there, get some money and trade it out for ETH. So the combination of all these different factors, I think, is what really makes it that King Kong, that big D of the game. And that's just like, they are who they are, and everyone's trying to have, and I wouldn't say knockoffs, and sorry for the long monologue, but I wouldn't say people are doing knockoffs, just derivatives, and they're seeing success. But each one that comes out, I think, needs a little bit more utility than the next. So with all these different things, that's why I think the lay of the land the way it is right now.
Yeah, it's they really were I wasn't big on the pixel. I mean, I'm still not. There's a lot of NFTs that come out that are just pixelated images, and I'm not huge on that, just because I was always a gamer growing up, but I never was into like the Minecraft. So I was more into the actual high definition game, sort of say, you know.
Right.
Fortnite aside, I guess that's more like animation, but that would be high definition. But I definitely, I agree with you when it comes to utility. And what I wanted to mention before we get into the metaverse and utility of the metaverse is that at that time the Bored Apes came out, Ethereum was at like $4,000. I think it was at its peak of this year when the Bored Apes came out. Because I remember, because I was looking at those apes and I was like, I was thinking at the time, like they were selling for like 0.3, 0.4 Ethereum at that time. And I was like, that was like $2,000 then, which is like the price of 1 Ethereum now. Did that drop off in Ethereum pricing by cutting it in half? Did that affect the NFT market a lot, or did it just make it explode even more because now people felt like they could afford more NFTs?
It's a psychological thing, you know, and I would say that 0.3 ETH then is 0.3 ETH now if you already owned the ETH.
The Ether, yeah.
But if you're coming into this and having to get ETH from your bank account or from your credit card and buy ETH in order to get something, yeah, it's a lot more difficult when ETH is higher, right? So that does make a difference for people entering the market. I think for people who are into crypto and already have ETH, it's not as big of a change. And there's a very big psychological effect that when ETH goes up to 4,000 and you have 1 ETH, you're like, I have $4,000. But people who have been in the game a long time, like I've had conversations with people who they don't even think of anything in US dollar terms. Nothing. Nothing. They don't even consider the dollar. So to them, it's just ETH is ETH. And I'm starting to think more like that. But there's been posts the past few days about like I put up one in response to someone else saying it's a lot more difficult to spend zero point 0.5 ETH. Sorry, it's a lot easier to spend 0.5 ETH than like $200, even though 0.5 ETH is over 1,000, right?
Yeah.
It just feels psychologically different. Like I had a meme that I said, $50 for dinner, no, but $50 in gas fees to buy an NFT, no problem,
Yeah.
right? Like, but it's wild. So yeah, I think there is a big impact just because most people coming in are probably doing it by spending US dollars. So the lower ETH is, the more affordable it is to the outside person coming in, who the normie, I guess people would say. And so, yeah, there's definitely market psychology involved in that, but it has to do dependent on whether you already owned the ETH or not, in my opinion.
Okay. Especially that 0.5 Ethereum, the correlation to like buying dinner, and the gas fees, that's it's a very good compare. You're making some fire comparisons today, bro, I gotta say. And it's funny because, like, have you ever seen the movie Ready Player One? You ever seen that?
What's the movie?
The movie Ready Player One.
Yes. I watched it 3 days ago. I showed my wife that movie because she.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that movie is my vision, at least, for where NFTs are going to bring us, and almost like at least halfway there. But I wanted to discuss with you, what do you think is the future for NFTs? Is it how much involvement is it going to have in the actual tangible in the physical world? Because right now it's primarily, I've seen some instances where like it's being done in the physical world, or people are connecting it to like clothing. Like I saw some guy, he connected it to a jacket. So like his jacket is an NFT as well as an actual physical jacket. And somebody sold an apartment in the Ukraine as an NFT, which was crazy because there was no paperwork needed, just a transfer of NFT. So where do you see the future? What is the future of NFTs in your mind?
The futures of NFT in my mind are not actually as metaverse as maybe some others. So for me, I think that there's three things in it outside of traditional what we would think as being the metaverse. And obviously metaverse contains a lot of these things inside of it, but right now the way that it is, we think of metaverse as sandbox or Decentraland, which is not very built up yet.
Yeah.
So I think that gaming is going to be massive, like you talked about, Fortnite, right? Fortnite, Epic Games, all these Riot Games, all these different forays into digital accessories that you aren't able to keep. Once they turn that over and flip that switch to NFTs, it's a blockbuster. Then I also think finance, right? So DeFi, just in general, I think being able to take these NFTs that you own and that you buy over time and stake them, put them up for collateral, put them up to get loans and things like that, to be able to rent them out to people if you have a crypto punk or things that have that kind of value. So those two, and then also legal. I think when it comes to contractual agreements and documents and signing things and ownership and real estate deeds and wills and all that kind of stuff, I think it's all going to be done through smart contracts. So you could take that stuff and maybe shove it into the metaverse when it's ready. But I think the metaverse, as we think of it, is years away from mass adoption. But in the meantime, this is all like super early adopter phase. So there still needs to be a lot of NFT to metaverse integration that isn't necessarily built out yet. So I would say that my three things would be the gaming, the finance, and legal.
I see. And like when you say gaming, you mean like Fortnite? They sell all their money because the game was free. All their money was made off of the items they sold within the game. So instead of having just buying the item and then not being able to sell it, they would just sell it as an NFT essentially, and then they'll be able to resell it within the game. So that's sort of its own metaverse. Because I don't know if you saw those Super Yetis, which is like a new NFT project. They're creating. I saw on their roadmap they're planning to drop by 2022 a Yetiverse which basically means in my imagination, it was just like, okay, this is going to be like some freaking Club Penguin. Like it's just going to look like Club Penguin. It's going to be a bunch of Snowland or whatever it is. And like, you're just going to have a Yeti. There's 10,000 characters in the game and that's it. So they're calling it a Yetiverse. It's not technically the metaverse because it's not all connected, but essentially I'm assuming they're going to all like Fortnite is going to bridge with the Yetiverse and in the future, at least. That's where I think it goes.
My guess would be it's probably like they purchased a 1x1 plot of sandbox land and you're just going to build boxes on it and call it Yetiverse.
You think so?
No, let me stop. But yeah, when they talked about their game, they mentioned Sandbox being the platform for the game. So that's why I assume it's probably something like that.
The Super Yetis?
Yeah, unless they're building something in addition to the game. And if they anticipate having something in addition to the game out in 2022, I would say that's unrealistic. So if that's what they're referring to, I would call that unrealistic. If it's about the game, it's probably something within Sandbox. I don't know if it would be like their own type of sandbox. But they do have some money now, and they do have some developers on the team. So I would love to hear more from them, but I don't think they're building their own version of Sandbox, if I had to take a guess.
Yeah. Did you see that? Did you see that they got Gary Vee? Gary Vee just pulled up in the chat and he was just like, first thing this guy says is like, how could I buy one? And he's like, all right, I'm going to try getting this project verified. I guess he liked it. It was nuts.
Yeah. I mean, it's different. Right, they're models. They're the potential to be AR, VR type models, even if they're not there yet. So yeah, there's a lot of upside, and they could have went about things early on differently. But I have some of my own. I got 4 of them, so I'm ready to see the reveal. And I just hope that they can execute on the things they plan to. I don't have any thoughts that they would intentionally not try to, but that's what I would expect from somebody making those kind of promises, is that just, do your best to execute.
I see. All right. And now I'm going to shift into some other projects that people might not know about. Yesterday, you're part of this project it's called like they're Theos. How do you pronounce them? They're NFT like Theos, correct?
NFTos.
NFTheo. Yeah. So they're very well drawn, by the way. I don't know who's the artist, but they're very well drawn. They're cool little bears. I don't know how many are going to release. If you could, how many so far? There's been like a couple hundred that have been released so far, right?
Yeah. So I'll break it all down for you. So
yeah,
these NFTos, they are 2 people. They're a couple. They met in college, and while they were in college and they were taking like design classes and stuff like that, they came up with this idea for a cute little teddy bear. And so this was, I think they said 6 years ago or something, they designed a Theo, and they've just really always wanted to do something with him because they loved it and they created it together, and it's like sentimental for them. And so they just started making these things one by one. So there's Cy Bear, who is the husband, and then there's Shaz, who is the wife. So they call themselves Mama Bear, Papa Bear, right? So they're really adorable. I can't wait for people to meet them. They're out of Ireland, and they're very nice people. And so they were just Cy Bear was making these traits and these models, and then Shaz was making the code to the scripts to just randomize them. And so they were just having fun with it, and they were just making them, and they would come up with a model, and after randomization, like, oh, this one's nice. And so they would mint it and put it up on their account. And after doing like 200 of those over the past like week or so, they weren't getting that much traction. They were doing okay, but after about like 5 days or so, they had only 2 ETH in total traded volume. And so they were doing these things, just putting them out one by one, and like people were buying them. Like I bought my own because I found one that I like, and the floor was getting up to like 0.15 after they released it at 0.01, like a week prior. So they're very affordable, and the floor started creeping up, and so I got one of them, and then the floor went to 0.2, and like, oh, this is really nice. It's a cool project. And then my company, the NFT Nexus, with Tyler and John, we've been looking for new projects to take on and help manage. And we saw them, and we saw that they were dropping these 200 cute teddies that we all knew about already. They were dropping them on Sunday. And this was like maybe Friday or Saturday that we started having these conversations. And so they were all ready to go and ready to drop these bears. And we joined up with them and said that it's going to be difficult because of what people expect nowadays out of these projects. they expect the
Yeah.
blind mint, and they expect the randomization, and they had 200 teddy bears ready to go and ready to drop on OpenSea. And so what we did is we stepped in, we joined their team, we built them a Discord, like literally yesterday morning, a couple hours before the drop. And then we were promoting them the day before with like a giveaway we had them do, and they're just very acceptable people and very open to feedback. And so they had these 400 teddies that they were putting out one by one, and that they had planned. And eventually they wanted to put out, you know, more in a similar fashion. And so they were putting out these 200, and we said, all right, guys, what we really need to do is this blind minting stuff, because it's what everyone expects. It's a great way to go about it. People will love it. They love the bears already. You already have these ones made and out there. So we got to get through this drop. We have to get them out there and getting them into people's hands. And so the drop didn't go great. There was gas wars and people got upset, but we put them at a price of 0.01 so that they were affordable enough that even if you got knocked on some gas, it wasn't too expensive. And it just sucked for the people who weren't able to get one at all. Like, it sucks. Like I was involved too. I lost gas, and I've been involved in a lot of gas wars, and I lost gas, and you go into it knowing what to expect, but not everyone does or knows what happens, and they see the gas leave their account and they get upset. So we're going to do our best as our team working with their team as one team to guide this into from a collection of 400 into a big project that the community can look forward to. So we're going to put out 3,000 total. There's 400 released already that are the Genesis bears. So those are the bears that they are. They're number 1 through 400. Those are the Genesis bears. Now, moving forward, we want to join up with a developer. We haven't yet, but we want to bring a developer onto the team. And I don't want to speak too much for the creators, but since we're advising them, what we want to do is bring on a developer who can do the smart contracts and the blind minting, so that we can put out another, I don't know, maybe 2,500 or so, and maybe leave 100 back for giveaways or to the team or whatever the creators decide, right? That's really up to them. But that's essentially what the tentative plan is, to build in utility for the OG Genesis collectors, to try and do things to help the people who were involved in the gas wars and got no bears. We want to try and do something for them if possible. And then, you know, really just take community feedback and guide their project to success. And so people love the project. We love the project. And we just want to make sure that the community understands that this is a couple that didn't really know a lot about NFTs or blockchain. They're great with, you know, making designs. And so we're going to let them create, and we're going to help guide the project. And so that's essentially what our company does.
Yeah. And I mean, those gas wars, I saw that on Twitter. It was, it's obviously, it always, like the gutter cats, just people love drama, I guess, you know, but it's literally common within every single drop of, like, an initial drop, at least for NFTs. Like, I remember in the beginning of NBA Topshot, like the drops sucked, you know, and Zedrun's drops still aren't great, by the way. Like, I lost money on the Terra drop. I lost so much money on that Zed drop, and like they can't expect they can't. I mean, it happens right now. Right now, like Ethereum itself is still flawed. That's how. Ethereum itself is still flawed. I hope they fix it soon. I mean, they're planning on fixing it soon. I hope so. But yeah. And you mentioned that you want to bring some sort of utility. Are the creators, or I don't know if you guys know this, but are they planning on bringing those bears to life when it comes to the metaverse? And are they planning on like inserting them into like the sandbox game as a living character, or more of just like a collectible?
They're open to everything, and they have the capability to do a lot of it themselves, but they need to scale. So as a team, we need to bring people on. So whether my team brings a developer on as through our team to help them, or they just hire their own developer, they need one to be able to scale that. And so there are a lot of things they could do with these designs, like AR and VR capability. That, I mean, and that doesn't necessarily mean that if you own one, you automatically get an AR version of it, but that for the future, they want to do things to provide that utility. So whether it's, you know, maybe making an AR version of the bear you own, or selling NFTs that have that already built into them in future drops, things like that, they're definitely open to. And then we also mentioned to them that we thought it would be cool to do, a physical representation of something like
Oh,
that.
wow.
And the first thing that Cyber says is, well, I have a background in 3D printing, so I think maybe we could do something there. And
Oh,
my
nice.
eyes lit up because I have a background in 3D.
Yeah,
Right?
that's cool.
So it's a great combination, and I think that there's definitely some feasibility there. I think that the possibility of having a 3D print and a physical version is um, possible, maybe even probable, but I don't want to speak for the creators and their decisions. So I would say definitely possible. And then I also was thinking, and this is more unlikely, but still possible, like a Build-A-Bear type stuffed teddy bear representation eventually. So these are things that can be injected into a project roadmap. We just have to iron out the details.
I
But
see.
the fact that they are open to every one of these ideas that I mentioned to you is
Mhm.
very optimistic for this kind of project.
Yeah, that's cool. I see. All right, nice. I honestly, you could tell that there's passion in that artwork, and it's now that you gave the backstory of the of like that there was like it was like their sentimental, like, I guess, love artwork. Now it kind of makes sense because of how, it's, you don't see great artwork every day in the NFT world. You see a lot of people that you just notice they're just trying to make freaking money. They're just like, you're like, dude, this guy just fucking put on some paper, like, he just drew some stuff and he's trying to sell it for money. And
Mm.
I could tell in the Theos that there was something there in that artwork. It really was detailed, and it looks awesome, and it was really awesome to hear that story. Where do we see NBA Top Shot going in the future for utility? It's because we keep on mentioning utility, and there's not much utility right now in the NFT world. There's just not much of it at all. I know that Gary V he dropped his V Friends, and he's giving a strange approach to his utility, which is, if you own a V Friends, you get 3 years access to VCon, which is, hey, it's cool because it's actually like a physical. It's bridging the physical with the metaverse and the intangible, which is
Right.
nice, I guess. But where is NBA Top Shot's utility going to come from if it's not? I mean, I understand hardcore, but like, are you going to be able to see these highlights in 3D in the future in the metaverse, or what are these guys planning on doing? Even Zedrun, are they planning on bridging like the Zedrun universe with the sandbox game or something, where you're going to be able to pull up with your character to the game, like a match, and just start betting with your, like, I don't know, your gutter cat or your Bored Ape on races? What do you
Well,
think?
I'll tackle both of those separately. So, Top Shot, one of the things that excites me most about their platform is the potential utility that they have available to them. So, I love their roadmap, their long-term projections, what their plan is to do. They got funding, they have marketing, they have all these different things, right? So I'm very bullish on Dapper Labs and Top
Mhm.
Shot as a company. And the people who work at Top Shot, no matter how many complaints you see on Twitter, they do a great job,
Yeah.
in my opinion. They're over time they've gotten a lot better with their PR, which I think was the biggest downfall of the company, or not downfall, the biggest negative of the company of the past few months. But they've gotten so much better with that. They've hired people. They've tightened up their messaging. They do office hours. They're very clear for the most part in what they want to say to people. So that's very important to me, to have a legitimate company and resources behind it. And so I think in terms of utility, I think it's going to be massive for people attending games. I think when
Mhm.
you go to a game, there's going to be airdropped packs for you, or cheap packs, things that only you as being the person can go there. So you'll have probably teams doing their own drops. I would think would be something that we could see in the future. So you could have, if you go to a Knicks game, then you have the Knicks airdrop you an Obi Toppin card that night as a part of your purchase. Little things like that. Watching from home, being able to scan a QR code that pops up on the screen to enter you into a pack drop, something like that. Having loyalty rewards, so that if you have a certain amount of your collector score, they might throw you in one of those boxes, in MSG. So there's
Wow.
there's a
Mhm.
lot of different things that can be done. There's a lot of VR application. One of the things I first mentioned when I was talking about potential utility in Top Shot is, and not everyone's gonna like this, but do you remember the videos where people, there would be like two guys, one would hold up a basket, like a basketball basket,
Yeah.
and another one would come and like dunk on somebody with it.
Yeah. Mhm.
Bro, I would love if like they made that into kind of an application where you can do that and like dunk on people and kind of share clips of it on like some kind of community feed. But that there's a lot of legal liability when it comes to like
Yeah.
jumping on people and with the endorsement of the company. But yeah, no, they've talked a lot about turning their platform into a VR Go, Pokemon Go type VR AR system. So I think that's really, really cool to be able to look through your phone, maybe add a game that's going on and see like, you know, when someone dunks, like they're a trail of flames, like NBA Jam because they're on a scoring streak, things like that. I think they can implement. Being able to sit in the stands and record your own NBA Top Shot moment and maybe have the people in the stands vote on it, and whichever one of those fan recorded videos becomes voted on the most by the crowd becomes an actual moment in Top Shot that's given out to the people there. Honestly, there's so many different things that I could think of that there could be utility for them. It's why I'm very optimistic. It's just about execution. With Zed Run, they're already in the gamification aspect. They're already there, and they need to expand on that. And they're having a lot of programming troubles. They're having a lot of drop troubles. They're having a lot of breeding trouble. So until those things are ironed out, they can't even fix the races. They can't fix the platform itself. So I like Zed. I think it's great. I think it's long term. Do I think that someone can come and kind of take their lunch? Yeah, I think that being around for 3 years gives them an air of credibility, but it also kind of gives that mindset of like, after 3 years, you're still at this point, whether that's fair criticism or not, right? So I don't know. I think that you could look at it in a bunch of different ways for them, but they want eventually to have your horse go across different metaverses or cool. Have track ownership within their environment so that someone owns a track, can hold events for the races and take payments from people who are, you know, coming to bet. Cool. Or to walk into the environment. If you own a track, you can hold concerts there, digital concerts for people to come in. Now you can also sell billboards and partnerships the same way that you do in real life. You can have advertisements on the horses themselves, as in skins, the way that Preakness did it. So honestly, this kind of topic and conversation is just endless in their possibilities. But it all comes down to execution and timeline. And what can you do for me? And what have you done for me lately?
Have you been making, is there money to be made? I personally don't own a horse yet, which is one of the biggest, it's probably one of the bigger regrets in my NFT life, I'd say, is that I knew about Zed Run pretty early on. My old high school coach messaged me. He's like, hey, I see you're pretty big on NBA Top Shot. Like, I'm seeing you on Instagram, whatever it is. He's like, you should definitely get into Zed Run. I checked it out. I loved it, but I didn't buy. And I see that there's money to be made even by holding your horse, because A, breeding, even though it's never opened. I see on the website they never have breeding like options open. But B, like if you win races, have you been making money with your horses, or is it more of just like, you know what, I'm just gonna hold this guy and see what happens?
Bro, it's crazy. So I would say that I've probably made more money with Zed than anything else that I've done in NFTs, including buying a ghost at $150 and selling it for $12K.
Wow.
So with Zed, I've made $0 racing. I am down maybe $1,000 racing. And I've still made more money using Zed than any other platform, just because I've been able to get in good prices with horses. I've been able to be involved in drops. I've been able to work creative trades that were win-wins for both parties at the time. But I was able to flip a lot of horses for great percentages. But I was also able to trade a few horses for a few apes. And those apes are now where they're at. So to be able to get a horse in a drop and flip it for 2 apes at the time was fantastic for me.
Yeah.
And no one knew where the apes were going to go. So I was taking a risk by doing that. At that time, the horse was worth more than the apes. So there was a risk reward factor that I had factored in there. And getting those two apes were so huge for me in my development in NFTs and being able to grow my portfolio that even though I haven't sold them all, the portfolio, the asset value attributed to my portfolio now has increased by large percentages because I started with Zed and turned that into more apes and then turned those apes into a bunch of other NFTs. So yeah, I would say that I don't race at all. I've raced once in the past, maybe twice in the past month and a half.
Wow.
And I would say that one of them was just because I met up with some apes in real life and we all decided to race our horses at a bar. And
you guys raced each other?
Yeah. So it was, I don't want to leave anybody out, but it was myself, Matty H, Josh Ong, Jenkins Valet, Tyler, NFTs Anonymous, and Drew Austin. And we all met in real life. And then some of us went to a bar after, and then we raced our horses against each other. And we're in this bar screaming about a horse race that's going on, watching on an iPhone 6 that's the size of my hand. And we're all crowded around this little bar table. And we're screaming about this race that's going on. I'm in last as always. And everyone's having a good time except me because my horses suck. And it was just a fun time. And I would say that's like the only time I raced my horse besides one other time that I was just up at 4 a.m. and bored. Yeah. And so I don't make any money racing. My horses have never been good racers, but I've made a lot of money flipping the horses.
Have you ever breeded or like when?
Yeah. So I've when they opened breeding the last time, this is funny. So I'm a part of the reason that breeding got shut down. So, and not because of anything I did wrong. But so what happened was they released the breeding and for a day, everybody's going crazy and basically having sex with their horses. Like it's like Woodstock and going nuts and breeding as much as possible. And so one of my horses came out and I don't know if you know the story behind the breeding, but there were two horses that were bred out of that breeding that ended up being monster horses, like steroid Clark Kent to Superman type horses.
Wow.
And it was funny because one of them's name was Escobar. And so this horse Escobar won like its first 10 races, which is mathematically impossible. And it was going nuts and making all kinds of money. And so I saw this and I was like, I want to breed with one of its parents because obviously then one of my horses could turn out like that. So I went to do it and I found a horse and it said the son was Escobar. And then I went to Escobar and it said its father was this horse. So I was like, this is great. I found a horse that's cheap breeding. I could breed with it and get, a brother of Escobar. So I bred with this horse and literally named the horse Escobar's brother. Right? I literally named the horse Escobar's brother because I wanted to make a point that I got a brother of Escobar and you didn't, right? Like that's what I was trying to do. So like, buy this horse, right? Because of the name and it's Escobar's brother. I was never even going to race him. I just wanted to do that. And then I was looking at it and then I was like, wait, how come this other horse also has Escobar listed as his son? So there are two fathers of this horse. Oh shit, there's two mothers of this horse too. This horse has 4 parents? I was like, what the hell? So people were actually DMing me because I was bragging that I got Escobar's brother. Look at this name that I named him. This is legit. And so people are DMing me and they're like, hey, bro, I know you said that his father was, I think the name's Big Windmill or something like it, great racer. And so like, he's like, you said the father was Big Windmill and that was Escobar's father, right? I was like, yeah. He goes, well, I'm also seeing that Escobar has a different father's name. Because that father has Escobar listed as his son also. So I started bringing it up to Jay and Zedron and talking about it in the chat. Because I was like, guys, I bred this horse and I paid money to do this breeding specific. Like I paid extra to breed with that father specifically because I thought it was Escobar's brother. And like, is it? Like you have to confirm this with me now. And so what ended up happening is they realized that Escobar and Roid Rager, the two monster horses that came out, ended up having 4 parents, and they got the genetics of all 4 parents. So that's
Wow.
why they were going nuts on the track and just demolishing everybody. So I brought to light that there was 4 parents of these horses, because I was pissed off that now I don't even know if my horse is actually Escobar's brother, which ended up not being the case. So I have this horse named Escobar's brother and is not actually related to Escobar. So I
No,
was
but
like,
you
I
get 4
was pissed
horses.
off. I was
I mean,
pissed off.
how does the breeding process work? Do you have to own the horse in order to breed with it, or you could just like go on you could
No,
just
you
go.
have to own the horse, but the
Yeah.
way it works is the males you can put up for stud so
Mm.
that a female can breed with it. And the owner of the
Oh.
male collects like half of the fees. So if you put it at like, 0.5 ETH for breeding, which is really expensive, but if you did
Mhm.
0.5 ETH for breeding, the male would keep 0.25 of the ETH or so, and then
Yeah.
the rest of it would go back into the platform. And then the female gets to keep the offspring.
Mhm.
So the male can breed 7, or could at the time breed 7 times in a month and collect half of the fees. And the female would be able to breed twice in a month and keep both of the offspring. So I had
Wow.
the female, I was breeding with Escobar's father
Yeah.
to get an offspring to be the
Mhm.
brother of Escobar that I kept, and I named him Escobar's brother. And he wasn't actually Escobar's brother, and you can't change the names. So now he's named
Wow.
Escobar's brother, and he's not actually Escobar's brother, which is hysterical.
Do you still have him, or did you
No,
sell him?
I sold it. I sold it.
All right, that's cool. At least it has a good backstory to it. Like we could just, it's almost like a little piece of history now, you know?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
This is just yeah, but I mean,
I
I
have
guess
another
it's still,
horse that I accidentally, it's a girl, and I accidentally named Keanu Reeves because I didn't realize, and so it was a female named Keanu Reeves, and I ended up selling that one, and the guy who got it raced it. So no, sorry, I traded that Keanu Reeves for an ape actually, and the guy who got it won his first race with Keanu Reeves. It was the first race he had ever won in Zed. He had some horses, never won a race before. And so I sold this horse to him, and he won his first race. I couldn't even get a win out of Keanu Reeves, and he wins his first race. And so it was like, we were excited together to celebrate his victory. And I felt as much of a victory in that as he did, because it was like, I felt like my baby had just won, So
yeah, just won. Yeah. That's so cool. Can you double name it? Is somebody able to name their horse Keanu Reeves now that you've named it?
No, but what you could do is make it like Keanu Reeves, and I think add a space at the end, maybe, or an exclamation point or something like that.
All right, that's cool. All right, awesome. Well, dude, this is a great chat. This is fun. I don't know how long we've been going for. Let me just check the time right now.
51 minutes.
Wow, 51 minutes. All right. All right. So that's how I'm probably going to close it off. Do you have any more final statements or anything that you wanted to add? Anything like even to the Theos, if you wanted to add anything, or just to tell the.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, I appreciate you bringing me on.
Of course, man.
It's my pleasure to come on and chat with you. It was a great conversation. I would also like to say that we did, my 2 partners and I did just form a company called the NFT Nexus. And so we're using that as an NFT project consulting and management company, where we build out communities for NFT projects. We run the communities forum, we market and promote their projects, and then consult with them on how to release their projects. And so that's called the NFT Nexus. And one of the new clients that we just brought on is called Chicken Derby. Have you heard of Chicken Derby yet?
No, I'll check it out right now, honestly.
Okay.
It's on Twitter?
So Chicken Derby, bitlovin.com, bitlovin.com, or you could find them on Chicken Derby on Twitter. And so they are essentially a more cartoon version of Zed Run, where you buy and sell and breed chickens and race them. And they have special talents. Like some have a catapult where they can catapult themselves over the rest of the field in front of the race, or hold machine guns and shoot the competitors. Or there's these different kind of environment talents, like a lightning bolt from the game to turn your chicken into fried chicken, roasted chicken, stuff like that. So it's really cool. We're super excited about it. They're looking to do an NFT drop within about 2 to 4 weeks, tentatively. That's their timeline, what they say. Then they have a game coming, like I explained to you. So they have the regular NFT drop the same way, the blind random minting that we expect from any project, well, not any project, from those type of AI projects, generated projects. And then they also, in addition to the game, have plans to build their own world. So one of the founders is a professional game developer for over 15 years. He created a game called Ganja Farmer, which is on iOS and Android. And it's essentially like a Farmville type game, but for weed growing. And they've had 7 million downloads over the past few years. So there's a lot of credibility there with these guys. I've already seen some behind the scenes stuff. They have a lot of talent. They have a big team, and they're a video game company platform that's transitioning into NFTs. So that one's really exciting. I can't wait for everyone to see what's going on there. Definitely, talk about that more, look into it. And that's my little sneak preview of one of the NFT projects that's in its very, very early infancy stages that I see being big in the future.
All right, awesome. Does sound cool. I like hearing more games coming out. That just makes NFTs more exciting. And yeah, well, thank you for coming on the show, man. Sorry, it was awesome, and you're probably one of my favorite guests. Letting you know that. So definitely was a genuine and a great time. Peace out, guys, and see you guys next time. Thank you for tuning into NFT King.